When you address your question, you're addressing it to the entire group, and they're going to decide who will take the question. So, really pleased to introduce in this order.
And we must remember that as long as we do not treat this crisis as a crisis, and as long as the facts and the science are being left completely ignored, then we will not be able to solve this crisis. We need to understand the urgency of the situation, and we need to see this from a holistic point of view. And before we came here, we had a few demands for this WEF, and of course those demands have been completely ignored, but we expected nothing less, because as I said, as long as the science is being ignored, as long as the facts are not being taken into account, and as long as the situation is not being treated as a crisis, then the world and business leaders can of course continue to ignore the situation, and that they don't have to do anything because they are not being held accountable.
Greta, I wondered how it felt to be publicly insulted by the American president and the US Treasury Secretary. What effect does that have on you?
Of course, no effect. We are being criticized like that all the time, and of course, if we would care about that, then we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
It's water off a duck's back.
I'm sorry?
It's water off a duck's back. It goes straight over your head.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we cannot care about those kinds of things if we have put ourselves in this spotlight, and then we know that, as we said, people do not understand the situation. I mean, the situation is not being treated as the crisis it is, and then of course people will criticize us because we are the ones who are telling this, and basically no one else is telling this. So that's what, of course, we will receive these kinds of things. I mean, it's horrible, but what do you others think about that?
Presenting, I think it's really interesting that you're all female. I do think that we're talking about a long...
We are not in a position to say whether Davos is good or bad from that perspective. I mean, we just took this opportunity to go here because this is where many world and business leaders are gathered, and we are not in a position to say such a thing.
You have a US president who suggests that this is all speculation and alarmist.
Of course, my message to India is the same as to every other country, as I don't focus on the specific countries. I haven't done before. Just that we need to listen to the science, and we need to treat this crisis like the crisis it is. Of course, this is the right audience. Everyone is the right audience, since I mean, both the finance, the business sector, and the political sector. Of course, everyone needs to do something, so everyone is the right audience. We shouldn't be focusing about which sector is most responsible, which sector has to do most, because we need to push from every direction, and this change needs to come from every direction.